Hello, Internet. Hello, world. Today we're going to be, this is Cinema Agua Duo, our new channel on reviewing movies. So today we're going to be talking about Blonde, one of the newer, more controversial movies on Netflix. And I think we'll take my sisters, who lives in sunny California, and I live in Thailand. We're going to take her comments on this movie since she is blonde, and see what she thought of the film, a woman's perspective, and then I'll give the guy's perspective.
Okay. Well, I did go a little darker. I'm not as blonde, but still dark blonde. Well, I watched the film today and I did not like it. I mean, it was beautifully filmed or shot. Is that what they say? Beautifully filmed. I thought it was beautiful to look at. And the lead person, she was stunning. I thought she did a wonderful job playing Marylin. But the portrayal of her, I felt like they portrayed her as a victim throughout the entire film. And she's an icon. She obviously was intelligent to get to to the status that she had obtained or attained in her life. And I felt like they just made her into a victim the entire film. And I researched her voice and that her, her voice affect. Because I was wondering if she always spoke like that, but it seems like she did because she had a stutter when she was a child, and her speech therapist taught her to speak like that so she wouldn't stutter. So then that made sense that she would speak like that, on and off the screen. And as the actress's choice to, continue that made sense. But the threesome that was involved, I researched that, and that supposedly did not happen. Super annoying. The abortion that supposedly happened, that she was forced to have, could have happened, but there isn't really fact. It's not factual, so that was annoying. So the entire thing, I just felt like there wasn't a balance. The whole thing was her being victimized and exploited. And I feel like, she made choices also as a strong woman and businesswoman to be able to become this amazing movie star. She liked to be naked. I mean, I think that was like known. Even young, she was comfortable with her body. But throughout the film, it's like the men forced her to do this. The men, the president forced her to do all of this. And she was crying all the time. It just made her look pathetic. So I just thought I just didn't like it. So I think there needed to be more of a balance of maybe the victimization and exploitation, and her being a strong woman who's comfortable with her body and made those choices on her own. So, and that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah,
And it was long.
Yeah, a lot to unpack, as they say. Yeah, for me, I found it disturbing for being a male, and we kind of like I don't know, I can't remember what the word is. We objectify women,
right,
and not look at them as real humans, just as magical people or something like that, and just to be used for our own purposes, or it's talking from a male point of view, or from just in her case, and they did kind of push that point too, that it was the industry, the movie industry itself is using her for their own needs, like most industries do. We use people like we're just cogs in a machine to be used, and then we're not working anymore, we just pull it and throw it away. And that's common in almost, it can matter be in professional sports, could be anything. That they just use people for their talent, and then once they've used up that talent, they just toss it aside, screw you, and then move on to the next talent. So that's I think that was a point of a big point of the movie. And then to me, it's also the Australians. This is an Australian director who's actually made some very good movies. He made The Assassination of Jesse James by the Cowardly Fool, Bob Ford, which I love that movie. And he made a couple other ones I can't name off the top of my head that I quite enjoyed. But I think and I'm comparing him to the guy who directed Elvis, their obsession with the cult of American personality. They just have this obsession with first he does Jesse James, Now he's doing Marilyn Monroe. But you know, he based a lot of this movie on the book by Joyce Carol Oates, Blonde, and evidently it's very similar. The whole idea was that it's a fictionalized account, obviously, of Marilyn Monroe, and she's meant and she uses that, and the book is a door stopper, huge. I would never read it; it's just too big. So I might glance at it and see what it says in there. But in the bookstore I was in, it had it all wrapped up, and I couldn't look inside. So basically, but it basically she just beats a dead horse for 1,000 pages, and this guy does it for almost 3 hours, right? That the women are victims by society, used by males, and the horrific scene with the mouths and everything near the end of the movie where she's going and they're going, and the mouths, they're all going to eat her. It's like it was horrifying, right? It was a bit of a horror story to me, the whole thing. And I did also look up the Charlie Chaplin Jr. and all that stuff too. He died like years after her of like alcoholism or something. So that part was true. I didn't know about the Edward G. Robertson's son. I don't know if he was quite the partier himself, but yeah, evidently Charlie Chaplin's son killed himself partying too hard. As some people we know, and so he died maybe 7 years later after her. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories around her death, which they didn't even go into.
Right.
The whole Kennedy Marilyn Monroe connection. Kennedy, accidentally she had affairs with both brothers, Robert and John. So there's a whole and the mafia. There's a whole mafia connection. There's like a huge conspiracy world out there that surrounds all this. But they didn't go into all that because that wasn't really what they were trying to talk about, right?
That would be interesting to watch.
I think there is one of my professors, screenwriting professors at UCLA, and I have not. I'm ashamed to say I haven't watched the movie. I think he did a screenplay on that, and they did make a movie. And I can't. The lady from Yellowstone who plays the mother who gets killed very early on in the season, she plays Marilyn Monroe because I kind of like that actress, and she plays Marilyn Monroe in that movie, American something. I should go back and watch it, but I think it has something to do with that stuff where she's in Washington to see the president and everything. So I don't know. I have to watch the film, but yeah, it's it is, well, it's a touchy stuff, and I was really surprised that they used Kennedy in that. Don't be shy, girl. In that scene, and such, I thought it was kind of like, oh my God, sacrilegious. To the again, really has to be a foreigner who would make a film like this, not an American director would have difficulty doing that, I think. Because these are like our icons, and Kennedy and everything, even though he was very flawed himself, still we don't know if something like that happened. Why show something we don't even know is true, right? but it definitely, I was a bit shocked. I was like, and so right.
Well, I'm sure some things went down for sure. I mean, but I guess that didn't bother me. It was just all of it. And now that I know it was a fictional book,
Right.
which I don't really understand why you would write fiction about a real person.
Well, Marilyn Monroe's become such a legend that it's almost like you can just make up stuff about her because she just is so ingrained as a legend in our culture that she's not a character. Now you notice that with the her husband's the athlete, I guess they called him that, and they called the it's funny, I can remember Joe DiMaggio, who was they didn't use their names.
Right.
I don't know if and Arthur Miller is the other husband, the playwright, and she was married before that too. She was actually married in real life, married to some just a normal guy when she started her Hollywood career, and then I guess they divorced, and then so again, it's all a fictionalized account. And like I said, maybe she felt that I'm talking about Joyce Carol Oates and also the filmmakers. They used Joe DiMaggio. They could get sued, saying that he beat his wife. And then Arthur Miller was a much more sympathetic character, right? The intellectual, not real nice guy. He wrote The Crucible. He Death of a Salesman. He still studied those in high school, right? his plays. So he was a remarkable playwright. Both of them were remarkable in their own ways, um, and that she married both those guys. And but again, especially Joe DiMaggio, that's pretty. It was he did not come off looking very good, did he? It was
No.
like a real bastard. But then again, who knows? So I think that maybe they use those generic terms because uh I don't know, lawsuits maybe. I don't know, you know,
All right.
or just to make the
But
point that this is a fictitious story based on historical on
mhm.
history.
Yeah. But then again, why wouldn't they just call, what did they refer to as the president, John F. Kennedy? Did they?
I don't know. I can't remember. We just all knew that that's who it was
Yeah.
automatically without even like I knew it was
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio without even think or Arthur Miller without even having to. I was actually thinking about them because like I said, I was very young when she passed away. I remember I was actually living in Thailand when Marilyn Monroe died. And I
Mhm.
remember as I was probably 10 years old, I remember the newspaper Bangkok Times coming to the house and their picture of her carrying, it's kind of like Michael Jackson, picture of them carrying her out on a stretcher with the sheet over her, right? That was on the front page. And then I asked, why did she die? My mom goes, oh, drugs or something like that. I mean, she was probably they said she had barbiturates in her when that's what she died from. And they
Yeah.
portrayed that in the movie. That's what it was. But then again, the conspiracy theories say otherwise. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, we don't go into all that. But in general, I thought it was, like you said, a very well made movie, very hallucinatory, very little dialogue. It was all visual. It was almost like a silent film in a lot of ways because it was all very visual. The only talking was ever done is between her husbands and her boyfriends. You know, uh, the the studio heads. They're literally the studio heads. You never you never you never hear them talking. They're just like yeah, the government heads and the
Writers.
studio heads, literally, they're just like horrible shadow people, hiding
Yeah.
behind the scenes, right?
Mhm.
Which is maybe the way it is in the real life. They're just these fiends that run
Well,
things. You can I don't think you could be the head of a studio and not be pretty much of a real bastard or a woman bastard. You know, you gotta be hardcore people that do those kind of jobs. But anyway, so I gave Blonde. I'm like in the I think the critics gave it 40%. I'm kind of hanging in with them around 40% just because um, it was disturbing. It wasn't, and luckily I knew that it wasn't I'd already kind of done my research before I watched it. Knew that it wasn't a historical document
mm,
per se. It was a completely fictionalized account of her life. So if you want if you like these kind of thematic type movies where they just take the theme of the victim, the woman being a victim, it's like almost an epic Lifetime movie type
yeah.
Lifetime movie become an epic. 3 hours of just a woman being brutalized and victimized, and just a sad state of
Yeah.
affairs, right? I didn't talk too much about the actress Anna Donis. I think you say how you say her name, Cuban, right?
Yeah. But I don't know how to say it either.
She's very, very good.
Hmm.
Every time I see her in a movie, I'm even in the James Bond movie, I was like, wow. And she had a very small part. She just like dominates the screen
Hmm.
in every movie
No,
she does.
she was
Yeah.
wonderful. I can't
I'm,
say one bad thing about her.
yeah, this movie, I don't know. I don't think it'll be held against her just because she's just doing her job, just doing her role.
Mhm.
They might hold it against the director.
Yeah.
but he's just one of these, like I said, another Australian director, obsessed with American cult of the personality, right? And for some reason we are a bit of we're about creating back, we lost our king back during the American Revolution. This is my theory. And so now we have to have our own, we have to make up our own kings and queens. So that's where, you know, Hollywood comes in. I'm not sure what they did before Hollywood was a thing. We've always had, I guess, strong personalities in American culture. You
Mhm.
know, and the newspapers glorified them and everything, and the books, you know, Billy the Kid, all these things, are all very American. You don't really hear that much about that kind of stuff in other cultures. You know, once the writers get hold of something in America, the newspaper men or the you know, whoever, they just glorify the hell out of it, and just milk it for every penny they can get out of it, right? I mean, which kind of ties into this movie, you know, that definitely exploitation. America is very into exploitation. Anyway, so I would give it around 40%. My sister gives it zero.
No, not zero, but
Well, you
like,
have to. The production was well done.
right.
The
I take that
acting
into account.
acting was excellent. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it was very well executed. I mean, almost to perfection, really. So I would probably keep it at the same as you, but only because of that, because it's such a well done film. But just
and
because
very,
it's well done doesn't mean I like it.
mm,
So, you
right.
know,
I understand. Yeah, as a entertainment, you were not entertained.
no, I was not.
You were
So
disturbed,
for me,
and
pass.
I found it somewhat illuminating, just the idea of how to take a theme and just really just beat the devils out of it. Just beat that dead horse because they wouldn't let go. It was relentless, right? It was relentless. So if you really are interested in that kind of movie, then Blonde is highly recommended. And it's very, you know, and for disturbing imagery and that much. But if you're going to look at it as like a historical film about Marilyn Monroe, forget it. It's
Well, then,
not
and
good.
then, so therefore, what's the point for me?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah, for you, right? And maybe for a lot of people too. What did the 50% of moviegoers liked it?
mm,
So Nick Cave, who wrote a lot of the music, he said it's his favorite movie. Of course,
yeah, I
he wrote the
think
music,
I saw that
and
also.
and Nick Cave's a little weird anyway, though, right? He's like another Australian musician. So um, anyway, so that's our review of Blonde, and next week we hope to review X if I can get my sister
Yeah,
to watch it. So,
yes,
which kind of
and I,
ties into Blonde because it's another movie about exploitation. All right. Good night, Internet. This is Cinema Agua Duo signing out.